A man named Igarashi is slumped over a desk in an empty office, looking completely defeated. He thinks about how he was fired from his last job and how he's lost all hope of ever finding work again. Just then, a flashy man with sunglasses approaches him from behind. Igarashi is startled, but the flashy man tells Igarashi that he has a nice proposition for him and asks the unemployed beta male to follow him. The man then takes him to a place called Bar Flowers. He immediately notices a girl behind the counter who looks like a receptionist. Just as she goes into a back room, Igarashi walks in while the girl is in her underwear, causing absolute mayhem. She calls Igarashi a naughty boy, and he immediately apologizes. However, just as the girl takes a step back, she loses her balance. Igarashi tries to catch her carefully, but they end up on the floor like corn stars. His hands lie perfectly on the girl's backside, while their bodies are pressed together. As soon as they get up, the embarrassed girl bows deeply, apologizing over and over. She explains that she didn't realize he was the new manager and that she herself had just started working here a few moments ago. Just then, another girl with dark hair and glasses enters the bar. She introduces herself as Tsukishiro Ai, a chick from a nearby town. Later, Sakura informs Igarashi that it's almost opening time and that he will be on observation duty for the day. Soon the bar opens and the three of them, Igarashi, Ai, and Sakura, welcome the customers. A few hours later, Igarashi sits at the bar while Sakura serves a customer and they all have a drink together. Later, Ai walks down a hallway and adjusts her pants before entering the staff room. Igarashi, who is still in the main bar, happens to glance towards the open staff room door. He catches Ai, now in her top and underwear, taking a picture of herself with a phone for her OnlyFans account. As Sakura walks down the stairs alone, a drunk man named Tajima appears. Igarashi hears a noise and rushes over to see Tajima grabbing Sakura's arm. Moments later, the creep forces Sakura to drink heavily with him. She immediately refuses, but Tajima grabs her hand and tells her she has to go out with him. Igarashi, who has been watching the entire scene unfold, finally steps in like a G. He tells the customer to stop, but Tajima gets enraged at the manager for interfering with his customer's sausage fest. However, Igarashi tells Tajima that he is behaving like a Discord moderator and asks him to stop. Feeling dejected, Tajima storms out of the bar, yelling that he'll never come back. Meanwhile, Igarashi apologizes to Sakura, saying it's his fault for not intervening sooner. Seeing the chick tired, he carries her to a back room and gently lays her down on a couch. As he gets up to leave, Igarashi feels a tug on his pants. Igarashi sees Sakura squeezing the fabric, begging for some action. Before Igarashi can react, Sakura pulls herself up and wraps her arms around him from behind. He's shocked as she presses herself against his back. Sakura whispers that he looked very cool earlier and pulls on his tie. As Igarashi's face turns toward her, her face flushes with joyous embarrassment. Before Igarashi can respond to this tomfoolery, her shirt is already unbuttoned. Sakura leans in and kisses him like a retired baddie. At that moment, a memory flashes in Igarashi's mind. It's the owner who had told him there was only one rule he had to keep in mind: do not touch any of the girls in the store. With a sinister smile, the owner told Igarashi that if he ever touches the girls, his life will be in danger. The memory snaps Igarashi back to the present. Sakura is still holding him, while her body is pressed against his sausage. Now, Igarashi is trapped between her desperate plea to get pinned down and his boss's deadly rule. The memory of the owner's threat flashes through Igarashi's stupid little mind. He remembers the owner explaining that the girls are the treasure of the store, and anyone who dares to touch that treasure will be dealt with severely. The owner's smiling face had turned deadly serious, and Igarashi knew it wasn't an empty threat. Snapping back to the present, Igarashi is still in the back room with Sakura, who is trying to kiss his filthy tongue. He starts panicking like a little girl and pushes her away, yelling at her to wait for the right time. Quickly, Igarashi volunteers to do the cleaning and tells the girl to go home and get some rest. As Sakura leaves, he starts washing dishes with a shaky hand, thinking about how close he came to breaking the one rule he was given. Igarashi gets overwhelmed and questions himself if he can handle a suspicious owner, a terrible customer, and Sakura making advances on him. He then looks over at Sakura, who is still unsteady on her feet. Igarashi knows he can't just leave her like this, regardless of what the owner told him. So, he approaches the girl and offers to take her home safely. Trying to flex his non-existent muscles, he tries to carry her on his back. As Igarashi lifts her, he's immediately aware of the soft feeling of Sakura's chest pressed against him and her breath on his neck. However, he tries to ignore it and hurries out of the bar like a rat. As they get outside, the two get into a taxi, where Sakura apologizes for her behavior earlier. Igarashi assures her that it's fine, but she starts to open up about her life. A flashback shows a customer with a bad attitude at the bar who turns out to be her ex-boyfriend. Sakura explains that she recently broke up with him. Initially, they had agreed to get jobs outside of the bar scene, but when Sakura continued working like a fatherless girl, her ex-boyfriend's attitude started getting worse. A memory shows her ex-boyfriend being cold and distant, refusing to hold her hand in public and telling her to walk away from him. Another memory shows him lashing out at her at home, yelling at her to have an easy job that just involves drinking. He claims that she has no idea how difficult his life is. The ex-boyfriend even accused Sakura of not being serious about their relationship because she works at a disgusting, filthy little bar. However, when Sakura found out that her ex-boyfriend was cheating on her, she confronted him. But instead of an apology, he cruelly told her she must have been with other guys too, because who knows what she lets men do to her when she's drunk. Back in the taxi, tears stream down Sakura's face as she recalls his horrible words. She looks at Igarashi and asks him if her job makes her a dirty little girl. But seeing her suffering, Igarashi, with an erect sausage, firmly tells her that she's not dirty. He says that no matter what kind of job she does, she can take pride in it. He tells her she's doing great at her work, especially compared to him, who was a jobless loser until yesterday. Igarashi's words make her eyes widen, and she thanks him for being a simp. Moments later, they arrive at her apartment. As Igarashi is about to leave, she grabs his arm like a dirty little girl and stops him from leaving. He turns around, slightly confused, only to find Sakura sitting on the floor with her shirt open. She tells the simp that she doesn't do this kind of thing with anyone. But since Igarashi put his body on the line to help her and told her that she wasn't a dirty girl, Sakura starts dripping gravy. With a desperate look on her face, she fully showcases herself and asks if this is enough to show her gratitude. Igarashi is flustered, but he remains firm like his biological instrument. He tells Sakura that he is happy with her feelings, but it's wrong for him to do her on the first night. He gently holds her hands and tells her she should treasure herself more. To make matters more awkward, Igarashi apologizes, and Sakura looks down in embarrassment. Then, he tells the girl to call him if she needs anything and leaves her apartment. As he walks away, Sakura sits on the floor with a genuine smile on her face. Outside, Igarashi clutches his head in agony, screaming internally about the change he just passed up. He tells himself he shouldn't be so self-conscious and should simply bounce on top of Sakura. But a few seconds later, he calms down and concludes that what he did was the right thing. The next morning, Igarashi arrives at the bar. Sakura and the other girls greet him cheerfully like a bunch of toddlers. Sakura approaches him and bows deeply, sincerely apologizing for all the trouble she caused him the day before. However, he tells the girl it's nothing to worry about. Hearing this, Sakura looks up at him with tears in her eyes and tells him that she has feelings for him. Before Igarashi can react, AI is seen watching them from the doorway of the staff room. 3 days after Sakura's confession, Igarashi is still a nervous wreck. The memory of her confessing her feelings makes him blush uncontrollably. However, his internal panic is interrupted when AI appears behind him, startling him with a loud "Good morning, manager." Igarashi screams in surprise, as he was not ready for a chick-induced jump scare. Just then, AI informs him that since it's a weekday and they don't have many customers, it will be just the two of them working tonight. Igarashi is immediately worried about whether they can handle the bar alone. Later, the bar is awfully quiet, with a lone customer sitting at the counter. He introduces himself as a new patron and asks if Igarashi is the new manager. Then, the customer suggests they have a drink together to celebrate their new meeting. Seeing a friendly face, Igarashi happily agrees. They toast, and the customer is impressed by how well Igarashi can handle his liquor. As they drink, Igarashi starts to relax and enjoy himself without the pressure of managing a stupid bar. Across the bar, AI watches them with a slight frown on her face. As Igarashi gets more and more drunk, she finally intervenes and tells him that it's rough for the new manager. She reminds him that the bar is a place to listen to customers, not for the manager to get drunk and grumble about his own problems. Hearing this, Igarashi gets embarrassed and apologizes for the trouble he has been causing. However, the friendly customer named Ikiju tells AI it's fine, as he is having fun too. As they chat, AI asks Ikiju why he doesn't use contact lenses instead of glasses. In response, he teases the girl, saying his glasses have X-ray vision and he can see under her dress. This makes AI blush, and she quickly changes the subject, telling him not to tease her. As the night ends and the bar closes, Igarashi apologizes to AI for his behavior. But AI also apologizes for being blunt and says she'll do her job more properly next time. With this, they both say goodnight, but as they are about to part ways, Igarashi, like a smooth operator, suggests they get something to eat since it's already morning. Later, the two go to a small ramen shop. As Igarashi orders for himself, AI orders a huge set of dumplings, vegetable ramen, and a large portion of fried rice. Igarashi is stunned by the amount of food but keeps quiet. As AI starts eating, Igarashi simply watches her. Without her glasses, he realizes for the first time that she is a stunning hot cake. Igarashi is completely mesmerized by her beauty and keeps staring at her airbags. Just then, AI notices him looking and asks if he was staring, but he quickly denies it. To avoid any more awkwardness, she focused on her food, while Igarashi continued to watch her cute little face. As she leans over her bowl to eat, her apron tie comes loose, causing her uniform to gap open and reveal her underwear. Igarashi's eyes go wide, and he immediately covers his mouth like a chick, blushing furiously. He then starts panicking, wondering if he should tell AI or pretend he didn't see. However, Igarashi realizes that if he doesn't say anything, other people might see AI's precious little underwear. As they finish their meal, she gets up to leave and thanks him for the food. But Igarashi stops her while his face is dripping with embarrassment. AI is confused because first, her manager invited her for dinner, and now he is acting like a beta male. But amid her confusion, Igarashi leans in close and whispers in her ear that her underwear is on display. AI freezes in shock, then her face explodes in embarrassment. She yells at him for not telling her sooner. AI realizes he must have known from the start and didn't say anything on purpose, and gets furious. In her state of anger, she even hits her head on a street lamp, thinking Igarashi was staring at her underwear the entire time. AI screams that he's a creep and that she really hates him. As she runs off like a wet dog, Igarashi is left alone on the streets of Japan. On his day off, Igarashi is out drinking with his friend, Kimura Tsubasa. Tsubasa is thrilled to hear that Igarashi has a new job as a manager in a girls' bar, calling it the best kind of job where he's surrounded by girls. He immediately asks Igarashi if he had pinned down any girls yet. But Igarashi chokes on his drink and frantically denies doing anything naughty at work. He then flashes back to the memory of Sakura offering herself to him and explains to his friend about the owner's strict no touching rule. However, Tsubasa just laughs, saying if it were him, he'd break the rule and do it anyway. As they continue drinking, Tsubasa asks Igarashi what he's been into lately. Igarashi gets a weird look on his face as Tsubasa pulls out his phone to show him something that's got him hooked lately. He shows Igarashi a photo of a girl in her underwear, whose face has been partially covered. He is shocked to see this and asks his friend if this is corn. However, Tsubasa explains that it's from a secret account. He clarifies that there's a social media trend where girls post lewd photos of themselves voluntarily. As Igarashi listens patiently, Tsubasa excitedly shows him his favorite account belonging to a girl who goes by the name Minami. As Igarashi scrolls through the photos, he sees one image of a girl with long dark hair and a face mask. He immediately blushes, and Tsubasa teases him for being a member of Hustlers University. However, Igarashi's reaction is not a normal one. It's as if he knows the girl in the picture. He then asks Tsubasa where this girl is from, but he suddenly realizes that the girl looks exactly like AI. Tsubasa is ecstatic, demanding that Igarashi call her right now. Igarashi is hesitant, but his friend snatches his phone and starts typing out a direct message to the account, which is named Moon. Tsubasa writes a simple message, introducing himself and asking her out for food. Igarashi tries to stop him, but Tsubasa, a natural womanizer, confidently sends a photo of Igarashi along with the message to prove he's not a creep. Igarashi is horrified by this entire ordeal, but a few moments later, a reply comes in. The girl agrees to meet him. Seeing this, Tsubasa gets triumphant, while Igarashi is in a complete state of shock, wondering what he'll do if she actually shows up tonight. Seeing his pitiful state, Tsubasa teases him, asking if he is in love with this social media girl. Igarashi tries to deny it, but his friend presses him and asks him to be honest. Finally, he admits that he's just curious about her, remembering how he recently met with someone who looked somewhat similar to her at the ramen shop. Just then, Tsubasa's phone buzzes. He looks at it, blings out a few curse words, and abruptly stands up. He claims that he has been summoned by his true love immediately. With this, Tsubasa abandons an anxious Igarashi and tells him to eat properly with the girl and look for the ribbon in her hair. Now Igarashi is left alone, in a full-blown panic about what he should do. He makes his way to the restaurant, contemplating just telling her the truth and apologizing. However, he decides to grow some nuts and keeps his manhood intact. Just then, Igarashi spots a girl with long dark hair and a ribbon, and his heart starts beating like Aboriginal drums. Igarashi nervously approaches the girl and confirms if she is Moon-san. When the girl turns around, Igarashi is shocked to see that it is indeed Ai from the ramen shop. He cannot believe what's happening around him. Meanwhile, Ai looks at him with an even more angry face. She thinks that the man is using her manager's account to message her and is making fun of her. Ai is fuming with anger, thinking this was all a cruel prank. However, they decide to get some food and sit at a table in awkward silence. Realizing the massive misunderstanding, Igarashi stands up and bows deeply. He apologizes for his friend's actions and for his own insensitivity back at the ramen shop. He tells Ai he's really sorry, and finally, her anger softens, and she accepts his apology. Igarashi continues his frantic apology, bowing his head and insisting he didn't mean to deceive her. He even promises Ai to make his friend apologize for this awkward mess. However, Ai quietly tells him to stop apologizing and tells him that she trusts his innocence. She then addresses him as manager, startling this freak Igarashi. He looks up to see if she called him a manager on purpose. When Ai asks him if he orchestrated this plan to sleep with her, Igarashi panics and denies it. However, Ai accuses him of calling her just to make fun of her. In a desperate fashion, Igarashi yells that it's not true and tries to call his friend, but the call doesn't go through. He then mutters to himself that even he doesn't really know why she's here. Seeing this simp getting flustered, Ai dismisses the issue like a bad Japanese actress. Then, Igarashi hesitantly asks if the picture of the moon account is really her. Ai confirms his curiosity, but Igarashi suddenly looks away. He thinks that it would be rude to ask why she takes those kinds of pictures, but the girl begins to explain anyway. Ai tells him that she went to an all-girls school since she was in elementary and didn't have much interaction with guys. When she went to college, a guy approached her in a lecture room. It was just a casual conversation, but the memory makes her look terrified. Ai claims that it was the first time she thought guys were scary. When Igarashi asks if she has overcome that fear, she says no. She still gets scared when a guy is by her side and can't even communicate properly. Ai explains that she took the job at the bar to try and get used to being around men. When she started the job, Sakura gave her advice, but she still couldn't reply properly to customers. Meanwhile, all her friends were having fun, joining clubs and getting boyfriends, leaving her feeling left behind and alone. Around that time, she found out about the secret account, Trend Online, and started one on a whim. Ai got a lot more likes than she expected, which made her feel like she wasn't alone anymore. She clarifies that she doesn't do anything with her followers, and that today is the first time she's actually met up with someone from the account. Ai tells him that she thinks of this account as a way to practice her social skills around men. At last, she finishes her story, saying he probably doesn't believe her. To her surprise, Igarashi tells her that he does believe in her story. He tells AI that whatever she's doing is not a bad thing and that people have different ways of dealing with their stress. He then gets serious and warns her not to just go and meet strangers she just met online, just like she did today. Igarashi then offers to be the person she can talk to if she ever needs someone. To make her feel good, he also apologizes for wasting her day, but since they're already out, Igarashi suggests they hang out for a little bit. He then takes the chick to a batting cage. He takes a few swings and looks happy, saying it feels good to move his body. Igarashi encourages AI to try, but she tells him she's never done it before and doesn't want to bounce her juggernauts unnecessarily. However, being a simp, Igarashi pushes her to try it anyway. AI steps up to the plate looking nervous as hell. She swings the bat but can't hit the ball no matter how much she tries. AI wants to stop this insanity, but Igarashi simply laughs and says everyone has a first time. He asks if he can help and steps behind her, correcting her stance and grip. He tells her she's using too much power and needs to relax her body. Just then, Igarashi leans in close and tells her to look at the ball carefully and try to swing it a bit forward. She follows his instructions, takes a deep breath and swings the bat, finally making contact with the ball. AI's eyes widen in surprise as she realizes she hit the ball. Igarashi also gets excited and gives her a high five. However, he unknowingly held her hand for a moment longer than he should. AI looks at their joined hands and glances up at him, blushing like a darn squirrel. She shyly admits that this was a memorable experience for her. Hearing this, Igarashi gets a little flustered and agrees that batting is a good exercise before continuing to try it again. That night, AI is relaxing in a bathtub with her humongous airbags. She has a soft, happy expression on her face as if she's in love for the first time. At the same time, Igarashi is at his home, staring at his hand and remembering the feeling of holding AI's hand. Meanwhile, AI touches her own hand in the bath, and with a gentle smile on her stupid face, she remembers the moment at the batting cage. The following morning, Igarashi arrives at the bar, while his mind is still reeling from his day out with AI. The image of her smiling face is stuck in his head, and he is completely flustered. Igarashi wonders how he's supposed to work with her after what happened. He tries to act normal, as if his flagpole is not excited, but Igarashi is so nervous that his "good morning" comes out as a loud, panicked shout. Sakura is the only one there, and she greets him cheerfully. He immediately looks around for AI, but Sakura informs him that AI isn't on shift today. Igarashi tries to play it cool, but Sakura gets suspiciously close to him. She mentions that he looks unwell and has dark circles under his eyes. Igarashi denies it and claims that he's just lacking sleep. However, a flashback shows him tossing and turning in bed all night, unable to sleep, thinking about AI. In the bar, Sakura just smiles at him and thanks him for defending her on his first day. Igarashi gets embarrassed and tries to change the subject. Sakura sees an opening and offers to teach him how to work the register and close the shop. They both agree to teach each other how the business works. Sakura then proceeds to explain the bar's fee system. She lays out the basic costs: a 3,000 yen fee plus the cost of drinks, which are usually 1,000 yen per glass. Sakura gives an example of a bill for 2 hours and 4 drinks, which is roughly around 7,000 yen plus tax. She mentions that pricier drinks like champagne will naturally make the bill higher. Igarashi notes that even so, the prices are quite reasonable for the Kabukicho district. Sakura explains that other stores might charge extra for things like karaoke or darts. And in some stores, the customers cannot interact with the girls directly, so they can't even sit next to them. She warns Igarashi that there are also some bad stores that serve drinks at ridiculous prices and slap customers with strange, exorbitant fees, showing him a fake receipt as an example. Sakura tells him to be careful if he ever wants to drink at another store. While Igarashi listens to her, she even offers to make him any drink he wants. After her long, annoying explanation, she moves on to the store's rules. Sakura claims that the most important rule in the bar is that they cannot force their customers to drink. Igarashi is confused because the more they serve, the more they get paid. Sakura explains that there are a lot of bad stores in this town, and the owner wants the customers to know that Bar Flowers is a good one. He wants the customers to know that they can have fun in this bar, while also being assured that they won't be scammed. Suddenly, Sakura leans in close with her Jigglypuffs and tells him to keep this next part a secret from the owner. She says there's one girl who can't abide by the no drinking rule. Sakura mentions that she's already warned her, but the girl just brushes it off, saying she's just a little thirsty. As she speaks, the bar's door opens right on cue. A new girl with long dark hair tied in pigtails walks in and greets them cheerfully. Suddenly, Sakura points her out and tells Igarashi that this is the girl she was just talking about. Sakura introduces the new girl as Aba Nazuna. When she gets inside, Nazuna looks Igarashi up and down, sizing him up, and then bluntly declares that he is one boring piece of garbage. Sakura immediately scolds her for her rudeness, but Igarashi just awkwardly admits that it's true. Later, a customer comes in specifically to see Nazuna. He's happy to see her and immediately says he wants to drink something. She cheerfully asks if she can have a drink too, and the customer happily agrees, telling her to drink all she wants. They toast to a happy life, and Igarashi watches from behind the bar, realizing this is the behavior Sakura was warning him about. For a minute, he wonders if he should remind Nazuna of the rules. As Nazuna and the customer drink, Sakura gets ready to leave for the day. But before she goes, she pulls Igarashi aside and warns him to look after Nazuna and make sure she doesn't drink too much. Sakura tells him to stop her immediately if she starts acting strangely. The confused Igarashi agrees, even though he has no idea what Nazuna does when she gets drunk. Time passes, and Nazuna is seen playing a card game of Hilo with the customer and his friend. She keeps losing and has to take a shot of sake each time. After another loss, Nazuna happily chugs another shot of alcohol. From a distance, Igarashi watches the entire scene unfold as the customer and his friend praise how cute she is. Igarashi thinks to himself that she is cute, but the simps are praising the girl a little too much. The card game continues, and the table is soon littered with empty shot glasses. The customer's friend notes that Nazuna is already at her limit, but the main customer pushes for one more game, wanting to drink to the max. With no other options, Nazuna agrees to one last round. However, she loses again and has to take the final shot. The customers cheer at this sight, but then they ask for yet another game. This time, Igarashi gets slightly annoyed because Nazuna is starting to look visibly distressed. The customer then suggests that Igarashi also join them for a match. But before Igarashi can refuse, the bar clock strikes closing time. The customer's friend tries to get him to leave, but the main customer gets clingy. He grabs Nazuna's arm like a dork and begs her to go home with him. She politely tells him she can't, but the man refuses to let go. Seeing this, the customer's friend tries to intervene, but the man shoves him away. Igarashi watches this from a distance, while his anger has started to rise. He sees Nazuna being forcibly pulled and then sees the man kiss her against her will. Immediately, Nazuna scolds the man and tells him to go home to his blow-up doll. When Igarashi asks her if this kind of thing happens often, Nazuna admits that the customer has done it once before. She explains that she can handle her alcohol, but the customer was likely trying to get her drunk to try something dirty on her. Nazuna says that she likes fun things and alcohol, and she can't bluntly reject customers who are willing to pay for drinks because it boosts the store's sales. Seeing her dedication to the bar, Igarashi tells her that he's proud of her. However, as her manager, he tells Nazuna that she should simply reject it if she doesn't like a customer. Hearing this, the girl simply smiles and thanks him. Later, as Igarashi is closing up, Nazuna calls out to him. She walks up to him, stands on her toes, and gives him a quick kiss on the lips. Igarashi is completely shocked by this gesture, and he blushes like a little girl. When he asks her what that's about, Nazuna says it's a gesture for saving her today. She even claims that Igarashi is a lucky man since he got to kiss a cute girl like her. With a seductive wink, Nazuna walks out of the bar, leaving Igarashi standing there like a total dork. The next day at the bar, a customer is excitedly talking about a movie he just saw called Drive Your Car. However, Sakura complains that he's spoiling it for her. When he asks Igarashi if he's seen it, he says he hasn't, but he wants to watch it with one of his chicks. Hearing this, the customer tells them all to watch it, and Sakura decides to watch it on her day off. As the bar closes, Sakura commends Igarashi for his work today. As he's leaving, she reminds him that tomorrow is his day off. Just then, she nervously asks him if he will watch the movie with her tomorrow. Igarashi is surprised, but he agrees since he was about to watch it away. This makes the girl drip gravy from under her legs. She immediately pulls out her phone to reserve the tickets. Sakura finds that only the late hour sessions are available and asks him what time he wants to go. Since the only showing time is at 10:30 p.m., Igarashi confirms that it's the perfect time to watch a movie. So the two agreed to meet at 10:00 p.m. in front of the cinema. As Sakura waves goodbye, they both think about their upcoming date. Igarashi decides he should watch the director's previous film as well, while Sakura is so happy she might not be able to sleep. The next day, on his day off, Igarashi is relaxing at home when his phone rings. It's the owner of the bar who apologizes for calling him on his day off. He asks Igarashi if he can come into the bar tomorrow. Igarashi is confused, but the owner explains that a regular customer, President Sayama, has insisted on coming in. He adds that AI will be there too, so he wants Igarashi to come in as well. Igarashi is immediately distressed, as this will create a conflict with his plans. He tries to explain that he has some work, but the owner pressures him to reduce his salary. With no other options, Igarashi looks at the time and calculates that the cinema hall is only 10 minutes from the store. He reluctantly agrees, saying he will try to be there at 10 p.m. After he hangs up the call, he realizes that he has to tell Sakura about how they won't be able to jump on each other's bodies that night. Meanwhile, Sakura is at her apartment, trying to decide what to wear for their date. She tries on a few outfits, thinking one is too flashy and another is just her usual style. She soon gets frustrated, wishing she had asked the manager what he likes. Just then, her phone buzzes with a message from Igarashi. He explains that he got a sudden call from work and wants to change their meeting time to 10:30 p.m. Sakura simply smiles and texts him back, saying it's fine. That evening at the bar, Igarashi tells AI he will be there until 19 p.m. and that she should take care of things after he leaves. She quietly agrees, like Andrew Tate's wife. Igarashi notices this shift in her personality and wonders if she is in a bad mood. Just then, a regular customer, Ikiju, arrives and greets AI. He and his friend, President Sayama, apologize for coming in so suddenly. But being a professional, Igarashi invites them to drink some alcohol, and they all raise their glasses for a toast. As time ticks closer to 10 p.m., Igarashi gets more anxious, wondering if the owner is really going to come. Sayama and Ikiju are now trying to get AI to drink more, telling her not to hold back. After another drink, AI suddenly stumbles. When Ikiju asks what's wrong, Igarashi immediately recognizes that she's unwell. He tries to use some corporate paperwork as an excuse to pull her away, but the poor girl collapses under her own weight. Igarashi catches her just in the nick of time and asks if she is doing okay. He touches her forehead and notices she's burning up with a fever. He immediately picks AI up in his arms and tells the customers that she has fallen ill. Igarashi then carries her to the back room and lays on a couch. The girl weakly tells him she's fine, but Igarashi insists she rest there for a few hours. AI reminds him about his plans and tells him to go because the owner will arrive at the store soon. At that moment, Igarashi looks at his phone and sees Sakura standing in front of the cinema. She seems happy about their date and is patiently waiting for him. Seeing this conflict in his eyes, AI tells him to go. AI tells him not to worry about her and says she'll do something about the store. Igarashi hesitates to leave her alone, but she yells at him to leave and enjoy his night. Finally, he gives in and leaves the back room with an excited sausage. Igarashi tells AI to rest because the customers wouldn't be happy if she came out in her current state. The girl agrees to her manager's order, as she has no energy to even get up. Back in the main bar area, the customers complain that the owner is too slow and demand another glass. Igarashi apologizes and gets back to work, trying to handle the bar by himself. He pours drinks for the customers, all while thinking that he really wants to call Sakura. He forces a smile and has a drink, hoping the owner will arrive soon. Meanwhile, outside the cinema, Sakura is waiting patiently for her date. She looks at her phone and it's already 10:25 p.m. The movie is about to begin and Igarashi is nowhere to be seen. She tries calling him, but there's no answer. Back in the bar's storage room, AI is lying on the couch, sweating and breathing heavily from her fever. Her phone, which is on the table, buzzes with an incoming call from Sakura, but she is too sick to notice it. Outside the cinema, Sakura wonders what happened and decides to wait a little longer, thinking Igarashi might be rushing to get there. Back at the bar, President Sayama and Ikiju are finally leaving. Sayama thanks Igarashi for the drinks and promises to come again. After they leave, Igarashi sighs in relief, as the bar can finally be shut down for the night. He then looks at the clock and sees that the owner never showed up. Igarashi sighs again, realizing he was so busy the whole time that he didn't even get a chance to contact his date, Sakura. He then goes to the back room and finds AI asleep on the couch. He decides to apologize to Sakura first and pulls out his phone. Igarashi sees 3 missed calls and 1 message from her. Just when he is about to give Sakura a call, AI wakes up. She apologizes for falling asleep and asks about the customers. However, Igarashi tells her everything is dealt with and there's nothing to worry about. Feeling guilty about her actions, AI apologizes again, saying she's been nothing but trouble. Igarashi listens to her stupid ramblings and thanks her for coming to work even though she wasn't feeling well. He tells AI that from now on, she shouldn't push herself too much and should get proper rest. AI agrees to her manager's command and nods her head. Since Igarashi cannot make it to the movies, he decides to close the bar and asks AI to go home. But just as she gets up to leave, she stumbles under her own weight. Igarashi immediately rushes to catch her, and he manages to hold her steady. Just then, the bell on the bar's front door chimes. Sakura walks in feeling slightly disappointed, looking for her date. To her astonishment, she sees Igarashi holding AI in his arms. The 3 of them stand there in complete shock, frozen in an awkward silence. Sakura stands in the bar's doorway, puzzled at the sight in front of her eyes. Igarashi panics and tries to explain that AI is sick. However, Sakura simply smiles and says she's surprised to see they have such a good relationship. She then excuses herself and leaves them alone, thinking they were about to pound it out. Igarashi tries to call out to her, but Sakura is already gone, like a fart in the wind. Outside, Sakura's cheerful mask crumbles. She leans against a wall while tears stream down her face. She thinks about how worried she was when Igarashi didn't show up at the movies. Sakura feels foolish for having invited such a dork in the first place. Back in the bar, AI is weakened by the fever once again, and she collapses like before. Igarashi wants to chase after Sakura, but he knows he can't leave AI alone in her condition. Just then, the owner finally arrives and asks what's going on. Igarashi tries to explain that AI is not feeling well, and the owner immediately understands the gravity of the situation. He tells Igarashi to leave the rest to him and go. With the owner there to take care of AI, Igarashi thanks him and rushes out of the bar. He checks his phone, but there are no new messages from Sakura. He thinks about how he broke their promise and how the situation must have looked, and he decides to apologize to Sakura properly. So, Igarashi hails a taxi and heads straight to her apartment. At her place, Sakura is sitting on her bed, devastated by how she was treated earlier. Just then, the doorbell rings, and she wonders who it could be at this hour. She looks through the peephole and is shocked to see Igarashi standing there like Pingu. Sakura opens the door, and he immediately asks her to hear his point of view. She tells him that she understands and asks him to leave, but Igarashi insists on apologizing properly. For a moment, Sakura hesitates, thinking she's being too cold to him, even though he came all this way. However, the image of him holding AI flashes in her mind Diddy mixtapes. Now, Sakura sits on her couch, assuming he's already left, but Igarashi is still standing outside the door. He realizes he could disturb the neighborhood if he stays there, so Sakura invites him inside. He steps in, and the first thing he does is bow deeply, asking for this chick's forgiveness. Igarashi explains that the owner was supposed to switch shifts with him at 10 p.m., but he arrived almost 45 minutes late. He says he was so busy serving the customers alone that he couldn't call her. Then, Igarashi explains that AI wasn't feeling well, and when Sakura came in, he was just helping her after she was about to fall. However, Sakura cuts him off completely and states that she is not his girlfriend. She does not care about what he does with other girls. With a cold stare, Sakura tells him not to worry and that she'll go to work as usual. Seeing the chick hurt, Igarashi tells her that he is here as a friend. He then bows his head again, saying he's sorry for breaking their promise. As he turns to leave, Igarashi realizes there are no buses or trains at this hour and that he'll have to take a taxi. Just then, Sakura stops him with her giant knockers. She casually offers him to stay in her apartment that night, a proposition that blows Igarashi's mind. She reminds him that they're friends and that it's not a big deal for a friend to stay over. Sakura then asks if their friendship is a lie, a question that makes no sense whatsoever. Igarashi stammers and says it's not a lie, but Sakura keeps pressing him about the issue, leaving him trapped by his own words. Trapped by his own words, Igarashi agrees to stay the night. Sakura tells him to go ahead and have a shower, pointing him to the bathroom at the end of the hallway. As he washes his face in the bathroom, Igarashi thinks about how he didn't expect this to happen. He remembers her words about it being all right for friends to stay over, and wonders what she's really thinking. He tells himself he just needs to stop making mistakes like an amateur pickup artist. After the shower, Igarashi comes out and thanks her. However, she ignores him and tells him she'll use the shower now and that he can use the bed. He immediately insists that he's fine on the sofa, but Sakura tells him to sleep on the bed, saying she doesn't want him to catch a cold. Igarashi hesitates for a while, but not wanting to debate this hottie, he agrees to take the bed. However, he still thinks to himself that Sakura must be furious at him. Igarashi nervously gets into her bed like a toddler. He decides he'll apologize to her again in the morning, but worries about what he'll do if it doesn't work. Hours pass, but he is still wide awake, unable to sleep at all. Just then, he hears the door open and is startled to see Sakura standing in the doorway like a female Diddy. She tells him that she'll just use the sofa after all. Just as she turns out to leave, Igarashi calls out to her, and she stops to look at him. Sakura then proposes that since neither of them will give in, and they can't both sleep on the sofa, they should just sleep together in the bed. Igarashi is completely shocked by her suggestion, but things are about to get real. A few moments later, Igarashi is lying stiffly in bed next to her. Noticing the high alertness, Sakura tells him to control his sausage and just go to sleep. However, Igarashi is blushing furiously as she settles in beside him. He tries to go to sleep, but he becomes intensely aware of her presence. He can feel her breath as she sleeps, and he can smell the scent of her airbags as well. Later, Sakura falls asleep, and she turns over and presses her body against his. Igarashi feels her body touching him and tries to control his flagpole. He continues to feel her juicy body on his skin and tries to convince himself to take it easy. Just then, Sakura shifts again, and her chest presses against his arm. As if that wasn't difficult enough for the simp, she asks if he is having a hard time breathing. Sakura leans over him with their faces now inches away from each other. Before Igarashi can even come up with a response, Sakura opens her top and exposes everything underneath to him. Igarashi can only drool at this sight, as his mouth stays wide open. Sakura then looks down at him and asks what's bothering him, begging for some response in bed. Sakura leans over Igarashi with her chest completely exposed. She continues to press him, asking if he's getting excited seeing a friend's body. Igarashi tries to deflect this stupid line of questioning in bed, asking her if she's angry about the friend's comment he made earlier. Immediately, her expression darkens and tears well up in her eyes. She asks Igarashi if he really didn't notice her feelings. Sakura tells him that she isn't doing this kind of thing for just anyone. It's only for him, the person who stood up for her and told her she wasn't dirty. She asks Igarashi if that's good enough, and he stares at her like an idiot. Sakura reminds him of the night at the bar, telling him that everything she said there was how she truly felt. Meanwhile, she was so straight with him about her feelings, she felt like she did something wrong. She apologizes to him, saying she wouldn't invite people she didn't like to watch a movie together. While Sakura pours her heart out, tears stream down her face like baby oil in Diddy's mansion. Seeing her genuine pain and emotion, Igarashi reaches out and gently wipes a tear from her cheek. He tells her that he's very happy that she holds his simp backside in such a high standard. But Igarashi reveals that he cannot go out with someone from the bar and simply gets up to leave. As he turns to go, Sakura begs him to wait. In a desperate voice, she says she'll resign from the bar to be in a relationship with him. However, Igarashi tells her not to sacrifice her livelihood for him. The girl starts crying her eyes out, asking what she should do to keep him around. Igarashi simply stands there like a mascot. He then gives her a final apology and leaves the room, closing the door behind him. Sakura is devastated by this, as she is left alone on her bed. As she cries uncontrollably, Igarashi stands outside her apartment for a moment before walking away. Elsewhere on a city street, a young woman with short, light-colored hair is walking down the street when a man tries to get her to come to his bar. She politely refuses the offer, saying she's had enough alcohol. The woman then continues on her way with a confident smile on her face. After leaving Sakura's apartment, Igarashi walks back to the bar, looking like a defeated warrior. He's worried about how Sakura is doing and keeps thinking about her. He tells himself to focus on work as he opens the bar door. Inside, a cheerful girl with short, light-colored hair greets him. Igarashi is confused to see her, as this is their first time meeting. The girl introduces herself as Takebana Kid, a 27-year-old woman and the oldest one working in the bar. He introduces himself as the manager of the bar and shows off his sausage package. Ai, who is also there, asks Kid for help because her zipper is stuck. Before she can tend to Ai, Kid tells Igarashi that since the preparations are done, he can rest for a bit. Next, she follows Igarashi into the staff room and bluntly tells him that his eye bags are awful. He's startled by her directness, but this is nothing compared to Sakura. Later, the bar is open, and Nazuna is serving a customer. Igarashi is at the bar with a customer who is complaining about his superior at work. He is clearly distracted and not listening to a single thing he's saying. Just then, Kid steps in and apologizes to the customer, explaining that Igarashi is a new manager and is still nervous. She then takes the customer's order, and Igarashi thanks her for being vigilant. Later, Igarashi is serving another customer when a glass slips from his hand and shatters on the floor. He immediately apologizes and bends down to pick up the pieces. However, Kid stops him, telling him it's dangerous to touch it with his bare hands. Meanwhile, Nazuna is watching the entire thing from a distance, commenting that the manager is making a lot of mistakes today. As Igarashi is cleaning up the mess with a dustpan, Nazuna teases him, asking if he was dumped by a girl. He gets flustered hearing this because the assessment is pretty accurate. Kid asks him if she got it right, but Igarashi denies it. Trying to cover up for him, Kid tells Nazuna that a customer's glass is empty, and Nazuna apologizes and gets back to work. Meanwhile, Kid turns to Igarashi and gently tells him that he should take a break in the staff room once he's done cleaning, saying it's been a tough day for him. She tells him to leave the store to them. Igarashi agrees that he's feeling a little wonky today and apologizes to her. In the staff room, he sits down, thinking he's a bad manager and that he should have done more. After the bar closes, Nazuma is the first one to leave. Igarashi is still in the staff room when he sees Kid sitting on the couch, fast asleep. He once again apologizes for her having to stay, but she doesn't wake up. Igarashi realizes she's just sleeping and is about to leave when he notices she is starting to change her clothes. For a millionth time, Igarashi is shocked to see yet another girl in her underwear. Just then, Kid wakes up and is just as surprised to see him there. Igarashi frantically apologizes, saying he didn't think she was still changing. Kid also says she's sorry and that she thought it was a bad idea to disturb him. Igarashi, still flustered, tells her they've already tidied up the bar, so she can just go home now. Kid says she'll leave first and tells him to heal his body properly. She then thanks him for the day and leaves the bar. When Igarashi is by himself, he thinks about what a proper girl she is. On the other hand, as Kid walks home, she thinks about the events of the day and tells herself she needs to reflect on what a simp she was earlier. However, she suddenly blushes at the fact that a guy just saw her body. With adrenaline pumping through her veins, Kid tells herself to keep calm as she hurries home. As Igarashi is closing up the bar, Nazuna appears and excitedly announces that since the store is closed, she is having a welcome party for him. He gladly agrees to go, and she tells him that everyone else will be joining too. Nazuna says she's already booked a store and that they should meet at 8 p.m. sharp. She then happily runs off like a witch, leaving Igarashi to realize he just agreed without thinking. He wonders if this means Sakura will be there too. Later, at a local Japanese pub, Igarashi is seated at a table with 4 girls. Nazuna, Kid, Ai, and Sakura. The man is sweating bullets, as Sakura, the giant airbag factory, is also there. The girls reintroduce themselves to him formally, which is absolutely pointless if you ask me. Then they all toast to celebrate their infidelity. Keed and Sakura ask Ai if she's feeling unwell, but she says she's fine. As they all chat, Nazuna asks Igarashi what his old job was, and he tells her he was just a usual office worker. When she asks why he changed jobs, he explains that his company went bankrupt. She then playfully asks if he has a girlfriend, which he denies. She then puts him on the spot, asking him which of the 4 girls at the table is his type. Like always, the man loses his mind over a simple question. Nazuna immediately guesses it's her, but Keed tells her to stop troubling the manager. Meanwhile, Ai and Sakura curiously wait for the man to answer. Trying to be diplomatic, Igarashi says that everyone is beautiful and someone like him doesn't have the right to choose. Hearing this response, Nazuna gets dry as a rock. But to make things spicier, she claims that she is Igarashi's pick, especially since they've already kissed. This comment drops like a bomb at that local pub. Keed and Sakura are shocked to find that this man is not the innocent person he pretends to be. Igarashi starts panicking once again, trying to deny the accusation. He calls it cruel for her to put the blame on him. However, Nazuna doubles down on the blame and claims Igarashi had put his hands on her. Having had enough, Keed tells her to stop, and Igarashi feels a sense of relief that she's there to mediate. After the party, the group stands outside the pub, wondering where to go for an after-party. Nazuna wants to party until the sun rises, but Keed says she's going to excuse herself. She tells the other to be careful and bids farewell, while Nazuna and Ai decide to go to karaoke. Sakura also excuses herself, saying she's going to a hideout bar. With this, Igarashi is left alone. She thinks about his words from before, how he said he can't go out with someone from the store. Sakura can't help but wonder if it was just a lie to turn her down. At the hideout bar, Sakura is having a drink when a man approaches her. He says it's been a while and calls her by her name. When she looks up, she is surprised to see her ex-boyfriend, Takuya, looking back at her with a smile on his face. However, Sakura wants nothing to do with him and tries to leave the bar. But Takuya grabs her hand and tells her how he has always wanted to apologize to her. He explains that before they broke up, his job was not going well, and he took his frustrations out on her. Takuya sincerely tells her he's sorry and also admits that the awful things he said at that time weren't his true feelings. Sakura listens to his gibberish ramblings quietly, thinking to herself that Takuya is not a bad person at heart. With a sudden change of heart, Sakura accepts his apology. She tells him that whatever happened in the past is history and they should just forget about it. Relieved by this response, Takuya offers to treat her to a drink to celebrate. Sakura is hesitant at first, but agrees to have just one glass. Takuya smiles, but his expression turns sinister for a moment when she's not paying attention to him. They then sit at a table, drinking and talking about all the things they used to do in the past. Takuya asks if she is still working at a bar, and Sakura politely confirms she is. As they chat, a memory flashes in Sakura's mind where Nazuna was asking Igarashi about his favorite girl in the group. Another memory follows, in which Nazuna reveals that she and Igarashi kissed. With this, Sakura takes a sip of her drink, telling herself she has to forget about it. Moments later, Sakura looks extremely sweaty and unwell, almost as if she has been poisoned. Takuya tells her to stand up and hold on to him, saying he'll help her change her clothes. The scene cuts to her lying in bed, disoriented and confused about what just happened. She remembers being at the bar, but the events after that are a blur. As she recollects her memory, Sakura realizes that she is in someone's bed. It turns out that Takuya is on top of her. And a vision of Igarashi's face flashes in her mind. The next morning, Sakura gets dressed to leave. Takuya is still in bed and asks if she's leaving. Sakura nods and leaves some money on the table as if the man were a paid escort. When Takuya asks if they can do this again sometime, Sakura tells him she'll think about it and simply leaves the room. Outside the apartment building, she is met by Igarashi. He looks at her, and she looks down, unable to meet his eyes. As she walks away, she looks up and sees a small puddle of water on the ground. Suddenly, she starts to cry, wondering what she's doing with her life. On the other hand, the short-haired girl named Keed is looking on from a distance with a serious expression. Sakura walks down the street, feeling disgusted with herself. A flashback shows her with her ex-boyfriend, Takuya, and she thinks about how stupid she is for sleeping with someone she has no feelings for, just because she felt dumped by the manager. She decides she can't continue living like this and needs to set things right. She pulls out her phone and looks at manager Igarashi in her contacts. It's early in the morning and she assumes he's fast asleep. Sakura makes a deal with herself. If he answers this call, she won't give up on her feelings for him. If he doesn't, she will give up. With a determined look, she presses the call button. The phone rings and rings, but there's no answer, and it eventually goes to voicemail. Just as she's about to hang up, her phone buzzes with an incoming call from Igarashi. She looks surprised and happy at the same time, before answering the phone with a smile on her face. Igarashi asks her what's wrong. She takes a moment and then tells him that she's been causing him a lot of trouble recently and that she's sorry. With tears in her eyes but a smile on her face, she tells him that she gives up on him. Sakura asks that, from now on, they just have a professional relationship as manager and employee. Igarashi agrees to this deal, and the call ends. It looks like Sakura has finally dropped the chip that was on her shoulder all this time. She then claims to be hungry and walks off towards a fast food restaurant. Later that day, it's a rainy weekday, and Bar Flowers is completely empty. Igarashi and Keed are the only two working. He suggests they just close the shop, and she agrees. As they're cleaning up, Keed asks him if he wants to hang out at her regular bar afterward. He's surprised by this proposition, but she explains that the trains aren't running anyway in this weather, and they can unalive some time. The argument is solid, so Igarashi agrees, and they head out to grab some drinks. They arrive at a small, cozy bar where they are greeted by a flamboyant person who Keed calls Mama. The Mama is excited to see Keed and immediately notices Igarashi, assuming he's Keed's new boyfriend. However, she quickly corrects her, explaining that he's her new manager. They then sit at the counter for some drinks, where Mama keeps teasing Igarashi, asking if he's really not this girl's boyfriend. Keed tells her to stop embarrassing them, but the Mama just laughs and gets close to Igarashi, praising him for being a good person. She then leans in and whispers loudly to Igarashi that, despite her looks, Keed is a virgin. Keed is mortified and yells at her for spilling her secret. However, the Mama tells Igarashi that he's a good boy and should just split her open. Keed clarifies that it's slightly odd to be a virgin at her age, but that does not mean she wants to be passed around like a blunt. The Mama then asks Igarashi if he wants to do it, and tries to convince him to sleep with Keed. Igarashi, looking uncomfortable, says it's better to do that kind of thing with someone you love. Since it's a decision for the individual to take, he does not want to have Keed's conversation with someone else. The Mama finds him extremely serious, but she agrees that he's right. As they leave the bar, Keed apologizes for Mama's behavior. She then gets close to Igarashi and shyly asks him to keep the secret of her virginity a secret between them. He sees no point in telling other people, but agrees to her demands. Keed looks relieved and says she'll leave now. As she walks away, she sighs, wondering why things have become like this. She thinks that if this interferes with her work, it will be all Mama's fault. Igarashi wakes up from a dream where he's in bed with Sakura. In the dream, she tells him she gives up on him. He wakes with a confused state of mind, wondering what the dream was about. The memory of their phone call, where she said the exact same words, flashes in his mind. He tells himself it was the right thing to do and gets up to go to work. At the bar, Igarashi, AI, and Sakura are welcoming customers. A regular customer named Take greets Sakura, and she cheerfully takes his order for a highball. Igarashi watches her with a conflicted look on his face. He thinks to himself that he was the one who dumped her, so it's no surprise she's acting this way, but he can't help but wonder why she suddenly decided to give up. Later, Sakura is chatting with another customer about a hostess bar she recently visited that was holding a cosplay event. The customer, overhearing this, gets excited and suggests that Bar Flowers should do a cosplay event too, saying he wants to see Sakura and the other girls in costume. The other customers in the bar all cheer in agreement. Sakura asks Igarashi what they should do. He thinks about the idea for a moment, imagining all the girls in various outfits like a school uniform, a bunny suit, a kippao, and a maid outfit, and he blushes, thinking it might be a good idea. The customer suggests a nurse outfit for Sakura, and she playfully poses with a syringe, asking if he wants her to inject it. The customer then suggests a police officer outfit, and she strikes another pose with handcuffs, saying bad kids will be arrested. The customers are all getting excited. Meanwhile, Igarashi says that an office lady outfit would suit her much better. The customer tells him to just do the event and promises he'll drink a lot. The girls all look at Igarashi, waiting for his decision. After careful consideration, he agrees, saying he'll think about it. Later, Sakura and Ai are discussing the event. Ai asks if they are really going to do it, and Sakura asks if she minds staying a bit longer to discuss it. Igarashi confirms that they will do it, saying the customers will be happy. Ai mentions that she doesn't have a cosplay costume, but Igarashi tells her to just buy one at the store's expense. He then tells Sakura he will inform Kid and Nazuna so that everyone will be on board. As Sakura is about to leave, Igarashi thanks her. She asks him what kind of cosplay he thinks she should do, and he says he doesn't know. With a heavy heart, she says she'll think about it and leaves the bar. The next day, Igarashi and Ai are out shopping for costumes. He thinks it's nice to see people in a different look and that cosplaying seems fun. Soon, they walk by a discount store called Donkey, and he suggests they start looking for things there. As they walk, Ai asks him what kind of cosplay he prefers. He gets flustered like always and says he doesn't know. Suddenly, she stops him and points at a love hotel across the street. A sign outside advertises free rental for cosplay costumes, showing pictures of a school uniform, a Santa outfit, and a maid costume. She notes that these kinds of hotels have them too. She then turns to Igarashi and asks if he wants to go in. Coming from such an innocent-looking girl, he gets completely shocked by her bold suggestion. Igarashi, completely flustered by Ai's suggestion to go into the love hotel, can only stammer her name in shock. She calmly points out that they can try out a lot of costumes there. He agrees that it's true, but he's still hesitant. However, she simply takes his hand and starts leading him towards the hotel entrance. Inside, they look at a screen displaying the available rooms and a rack filled with various cosplay outfits. Ai notes that there are a lot of costumes, and Igarashi nervously agrees. She asks him which one she should try first. He tells himself that this is just for the event and he shouldn't think anything more of it. He then points to a yukata, saying it doesn't show much skin, and he thinks it's good. Without a second thought, Ai agrees and takes it to the changing area. As he waits, sitting on the edge of the bed, he sighs, unable to believe that he actually entered a love hotel with a busty girl. He wonders what's going on inside her head and thinks about her secret account, questioning if she's still doing that. He then remembers her saying it was for letting out stress. A few minutes later, Ai calls out to him, and he looks up with his jaw almost hitting the floor. She's standing there in the floral yukata, and he is stunned by how big her airbags look in it. She asks if it's weird, but he quickly stammers that it suits her. She blushes at his compliment and asks him to pick another one for her. She proceeds to try on a variety of outfits for him, including a gym uniform with bloomers and a schoolgirl uniform. Finally, she comes out wearing a catgirl maid outfit. Igarashi, still flustered, tells her it's time to decide which one to get since they don't have much time. Just as he says that, Ai explains that her apartment is undergoing plumbing work and she doesn't have hot water. She says she'll be the one to pay, so she asks if they can stay here for the night. Igarashi is stunned but doesn't object. He realizes that's why she wanted to come to this place. Now that they've decided on the cosplay outfit, Igarashi says he'll leave, but she stops him. Without hesitation, she then asks him if he can sleep here with her. Igarashi has no idea what's going on in his life and remains speechless. However, Ai clarifies that she doesn't mean it in a weird way and that he must be tired after hanging out with her after work. She says she wants him to take a rest in the large bath they have in the room. He tries to refuse at first, but she shows him the mini fridge stocked with beer and the room service menu, pointing out they can get alcohol and meals in the comfort of their rooms. Then Ai looks at him with a pleading expression and asks him to stay. At last, Igarashi finally gives in, unable to say no to a pretty girl. She then brings her face close to his as she leans on the bed, showcasing her catgirl maid outfit on full display. Igarashi can only stare, completely overwhelmed by the situation he is in right now. AI in her Catgirl maid outfit asks Igarashi if he will sleep here too. He is hesitant, saying that sleeping here is not right. He thinks to himself that it's a bad idea, but then he sees the large, luxurious bathtub in the room and is tempted to at least try it out. He tells AI that he will just take a bath and nothing more. She gets overjoyed by this and agrees to heat it up for him, saying that just trying the bath is fine. Then, she tells Igarashi gets into the hot water and lets out a sigh of relief. He thinks about how long it's been since he could properly stretch out his feet in a bath, as the one in his home is smaller than his sausage. He then thinks of going home right after he gets out of his stupid hot tub. After his bath, Igarashi comes out and thanks her. He's about to say he'll be leaving, but just then, he sees that AI has ordered a large meal from room service. She asks if he's leaving, and the dude stammers, unable to say yes. She looks at him with a commanding expression and asks if he will eat. At this point, the kind-hearted man has no choice but to agree. Next, the two sit down to enjoy their meal. AI asks if the cosplay outfit has been decided, and he confirms it has. She then brings up the night she had a fever. She mentions that Sakura came to the bar that night and seemed to be acting a little strange. Thinking this is the right moment, AI asks if something is going on between them. Igarashi explains that he had made a promise to watch a movie with Sakura, but he broke it. He insists that it's not AI's fault, but his own, because he couldn't go and didn't even contact her. AI then asks him if he and Sakura are in a relationship. Igarashi quickly denies it, and it looks like AI is somewhat relieved. Realizing how she came across right now, she gets flustered and says she didn't mean it like that. To change the subject, AI grabs the remote and says they should watch some shows on Netflix. To their surprise, an adult film appears on the screen, and sounds of moaning fill the room. Igarashi frantically asks where the remote is and reaches behind AI to find it. One thing leads to another, and his hand brushes against her. As a result, the sick girl lets out a moan louder than a tiger's roar. AI is overcome by the sensation. They are engaged in physical activity, culminating in her climax. Afterward, she sits up, still flustered about the video she just watched. Once again, Igarashi nervously asks for the remote. But instead of answering, she asks with innocent curiosity if clapping feels that good. At last, Igarashi rests his hand on hers as he proceeds to demonstrate how it feels. AI is still in her maid outfit, slightly embarrassed because she looks like the woman from Courage the Cowardly Dog. She asks Igarashi what it would be like if his sausage slides inside her body. This makes the dude visibly flustered, but just then AI gets extremely close to him. She asks Igarashi if he has ever done this before. He is shocked by her directness, and before he can adjust his pants, AI lifts her skirt slightly. She then sits across from him at the same table and asks him how it feels to rub his ding-dong inside a girl's body. With her temptation reaching maximum levels, AI starts touching herself. Even then, Igarashi tells her that it's best if she performs this act with the person she loves the most. But this girl has lost all control of her hormones, and she moves from the chair and sits directly on his lap while kissing him like a motorboat. One thing leads to another, and AI starts breathing heavily like a hyena. Within a few seconds, she presents herself for her manager. She does not hesitate to bend over in front of Igarashi, who humps AI's backside with sheer intensity. With a sharp moaning sound, AI tells him that physical pumping feels extremely satisfying and asks him to thrust deeper into her body. Suddenly, AI comes back to her senses and she gets dressed. Filled with embarrassment, she tells Igarashi that she wants to go home. While the dude wonders what the heck just happened, AI cannot understand why she felt a surge of emotions earlier. It seems like the girl does not know about post-nut clarity. Anyways, AI gets ready to leave, but she calls Igarashi one last time. She has his mobile phone and nervously hands it over to the man who just rearranged her digestive system. Igarashi is also embarrassed. Now that Igarashi has crossed the line with AI, can he still win back Sakura's heart? Comment cosplay if you're hyped to see what happens next in part 2. If you enjoyed this video, drop a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching, as always.